Hello, I'm AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon that will be exact on November 1st at 8:47 a.m. New York time and 2:47 p.m. UK time, London time. And the moon will align with the sun in 9.5 degrees of Scorpio, and this begins a new moon cycle. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to give everyone a little heads up. I will have a Black Friday pre-sale that will start on November 22nd already and last until November 28th, Thanksgiving Day at midnight, New York time. And all my readings will be 44% off during this time. So it's a beautiful discount. So if you're thinking about getting some readings for yourself or for the holidays, for friends or family or colleagues, feel free to take advantage of this huge discount. And if you are a Universal member, this 44% discount will be applied to the already discounted price of 10% that you receive for your membership. And for Star members, the 44% discount will be applied to the 20% discount you already enjoy. All right, so if you are a Star member or Universal member, you know what I'm talking about. If not, feel free to check out my memberships on my website at astrologercoach.com. But definitely mark your calendar and check my emails for this discount code so that you can take advantage of the 44%. Now, I'm also excited to announce another episode of Solidity Today. That is a podcast radio show that I've been doing for a year now. And my segment is now titled Hot Astrology with Sonja. And feel free to join Brian Wesley Johnson and me for the live show on November 8th at 8 a.m. We will discuss November's energies and how to prepare for the last Mercury retrograde phase of the year. Now, back to the new moon. The new moon in passionate all or nothing Scorpio brings our focus to our intimate relationships and deepest emotional desires and also fears. It's sort of like the all or nothing, desires and fears, the black and white, the extremes. Now, I should also mention eclipse season ended on October 24th. Yay, which means we're now ready to take on new things again. Pluto and Jupiter are back to their normal speed. They're no longer exalted. So that's really fantastic as well. We can breathe maybe a little bit easier, but there's still a lot going on this month. So let's talk first about the Scorpio energies, and then we dive into what this new moon chart holds. Now, Scorpio is the second water sign of the zodiac. So it relates not only to the depth of our own psyche, but also to the ecstasies and traumas of our relationships. Black and white, ecstasies and traumas. Now, Scorpio is also the sign most associated with the dark, with the taboo and the subconscious, the unknown. That's why we have Halloween during the time when the sun moves through Scorpio. And then also Scorpio is about our shadow sides. So our shadow holds not only our fears, unresolved traumas, and any of the less desirable qualities that we don't like about ourselves or other people, but it also holds anything that has been repressed, including our power, our intuition, and other beautiful gifts that we have. So anything that has been repressed is part of that shadow. And so what you want to ask yourself with the Scorpio energy is, how might surrender or trust in a higher power and letting go of resentment and fear give me a better understanding of peace, authentic connection, and inner strength? So anything that we've gone through, because oftentimes we go through some stuff with Scorpio, wherever we have Scorpio in our chart. You don't have to be a Scorpio to go through stuff. But everyone has Scorpio somewhere in their chart. And wherever that is, you're going through power struggles. You're going through traumas. You're going through possibly feeling disempowered in that area of your life, or whatever planets you have in Scorpio. And so in order to really get to a place of peace and authentic connection and inner strength, we need to trust in a higher power. We need to trust that whatever was orchestrated in connection with that trauma or disempowerment was meant for us to experience, and it was meant for us to make us stronger and to learn something from that experience. So we need to let go of these resentments, the fears, the things that are holding us back from truly seeing the gift of the trauma or the disempowerment. Now, to gain a more in-depth understanding of the Scorpio journey and how to work with the shadow material that is connected to Scorpio, please feel free to read my new moon article. I have a little bit more there about Scorpio and also some of the other aspects that we're going to be covering, because I don't want to crowd the video too much. If you're a member, you have access to the whole article. Non-members have access to the first part of the article. And if you would like to join us as a member and read the whole article, feel free to join us. You can get the first month of your universal membership for free. You just need to use discount code UNIVERSAL at checkout. Okay, now let's talk about some of the planetary aspects in this new moon chart. The new moon in Scorpio trines Saturn in Pisces, and that's asking us to be methodical and realistic when connecting with other people intimately or when creating financial partnerships. So what's important here with this supportive aspect is to just allow ourselves to connect from an intuitive place, to trust the process and go with the flow whenever possible. And that's really key here. Now you can ask yourself, what would it look like to know myself or others more deeply and to realize my interconnectivity with the whole universe, with everything that exists, the people, the experiences, nature, other creatures, even the planets out there. What do I realize when I really tap into that interconnectivity? Now, Mars, which is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, opposes Pluto, which is the modern ruler of Scorpio. So we have an opposition here between those two very important planets for this new moon chart, and both of them are also in their last degree of their signs, which is an exalted degree. So we have 29 degrees of Cancer-Capricorn here with Mars and Pluto, exalted degrees, which makes it much louder. And of course, with these two planets also both ruling the sun and moon in Scorpio, that makes it a very powerful aspect for this new moon chart. Now, this brings some intensity to our interactions with other people. We are invited here to take extra special care of ourselves and to not let fear get the better of us, especially for the next 4 weeks. So ask yourself, what motivates my behaviors? Am I driven by fear or self-protection? And then just remember, fear is in the absence of real danger versus imagined danger, right? Because there is, when what we imagine is maybe coming down the pipeline that's dangerous, or something that we're dragging from the past into the present that we imagine is going to be dangerous again in the future. So real danger versus imagined danger. If there is an absence of real danger, it can easily endanger our mental and emotional health. So we really want to consider that when we are getting scared or when we're being pulled into a fearful place in our lives, whether that's connected to our own personal life situation or to what goes on out there in the world. Really check to see, is there actual danger, or are you just imagining it? Are you just saying this could be dangerous? Because if it's a could, it's not real. That's a 50-50 chance at best, but it's an assumption. So let's keep in mind that also that impatience is a form of fear as well. It can show up as anger or frustration, but underneath the anger or the frustration that comes with impatience is the fear of not moving fast enough or things not unfolding on time or timely. So really allow that to sink in for a moment. because this is not something we think of very often. Impatience as a form of fear. So ask yourself, how might mental and emotional self-care support me in feeling empowered and more productive out there in the world? And also, when we waste precious time dwelling on what may or may not come to pass and on things that we cannot change, which is most things that are happening outside of ourselves are things that we cannot change. And if we keep focusing on those things, we will inevitably feel disempowered, because power only happens when we're able to tap into what we have control over, what we have influence over. And that, of course, is stuff that's right here, not things that are outside of ourselves. But when we focus one moment, one day at a time, on what we can elevate or improve, beginning with our thoughts, beginning with our actions, we will certainly feel invigorated by life. So ask yourself, how might taking actions that focus on making small improvements in this moment or once a week make my life 5% more beautiful, or 5% more peaceful, or 5% more enjoyable? So this is something we can journal on. This is something we can meditate on. This is something we can brainstorm with a group of people, if we are in a circle or if we are connecting with friends or like-minded people. Feel free to really use these questions as you see fit, as it supports you the most. Just make sure you're not answering them with your head. Make sure you're allowing there to be an intuitive process. And for those of you who've watched my videos before, you know this already. Now, let's talk a little bit about Pluto. Pluto plays a crucial role in this new moon chart. And not only because it is the modern ruler of Scorpio, but it is also still the apex point of a Kite configuration, which includes a grand water trine. And this time, both of these configurations will be with Mercury instead of Venus, as it was before, with Mercury in Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, and Neptune in Pisces. And we saw a similar planetary combination like that in the last super full moon chart on October 17th. And this invites us to be emotionally authentic, self-responsible, and aligned with what feels the most empowering to us. And also bring all of that out there to the world at large as best as we can. So since we've explored this in a previous video and previous articles, I will not get into detail on this entry just to save time, but feel free to read about all of those aspects in my most recent Super Full Moon in Aries article. And again, if you're not yet a member of my online community, you can get access to this article in full by becoming a member. First month of the Universal membership is currently free of charge, so you can just use the coupon code UNIVERSAL at checkout. All right? And feel free to email me if you have questions about it. Now, Mercury, the messenger of the heavens, plays an important role in this new moon chart as well, because it makes so many aspects to a lot of important planets in this new moon chart. To Pluto in Capricorn, modern ruler, to Mars in Cancer, traditional ruler of Scorpio, and to Neptune in Pisces, because it's part of that grand water trine. Now, Mercury sextile to Pluto in Capricorn is an opportunity to do more research towards building something meaningful and also learning about our authentic motivations. You know, what motivates our actions? What motivates our thinking? And of course, a fearful approach is not recommended at any time, really, but we want to be aware of that always with Scorpio. Is there a tendency to go into fear? Because Scorpio can be so black and white. It can be go from one extreme to the next. Like one moment we might be in complete bliss and passion, and the next moment we're in total fear and feeling paralyzed. So that's just part of that, just to show us the duality and to show us the extremes of something. You know, life can hold a lot of extremes. So ask yourself, is it at least possible that letting go of old, low vibrational thought forms colored by fear or self-protection would support me in effortlessly reaching my long-term goals. So it's just something to be with, to sit with. And then Mercury is also part of that grand water trine with Neptune and Mars. And this gives us a chance to release any narratives that are related to trauma from the past and fears that keep us stuck or disconnected from other people. So ask yourself here, what stories or narratives have kept me from living a fully empowered and passionate life? And am I now ready to release them as best as I can? And then also with this combo, it is easier to let go of fears and attachments. So we're definitely more able to have faith that everything will turn out for the highest and best interest of everyone involved. If we're allowing to surrender to something higher in ourselves or in the universe, and just trusting that the unfolding is as it needs to be. So ask yourself, what might shift if I trusted the timing of everything currently unfolding? What if I trusted the timing of everything currently unfolding? What might shift for me? Now, Mercury also opposes Uranus in Taurus, another aspect that Mercury is making. And Uranus is the planet associated with breakdowns, breakthroughs, sudden change, freedom, innovation. So this could really create some anxiousness or feeling of uncertainty. Uranus can be quite, disruptive in its energy. But it also helps us focus on what we want to create, what we want to innovate. So if you can, focus on what you want to create rather than focusing on what we can't predict at this time. So that's really key, right? To allow yourself to focus on that higher vibration of Uranus rather than on that letting yourself be taken by that unpredictability or by that uncertainty. So ask yourself, how might staying calm in the face of uncertainty support my sanity? And how might staying flexible benefit me? Uranus wants us to stay flexible and adaptable because Uranus wants to bring us a better future. That's what Uranus is all about. It's a soul energy. It's a planet that works with our higher self. And so if we're able to stay in touch with that higher self, we will see that Uranus only wants us to step into a future that serves us in a better way, that brings more freedom for ourselves, and also that brings a better future for everybody else involved as well. Now, with this opposition, we might experience some sudden and unexpected shifts in our thinking over the next 4 weeks. Because remember, it's opposite Mercury, which has to do with our thought processes. So ask yourself, how are my thought patterns being interrupted by divine interventions? And what insights might those interventions hold for me? So remember, everything is happening for you. Uranus is trying to communicate something to you. And so ask yourself, what needs more space in my life or in my way of thinking? And how might thinking outside the box support my connections with others? Now, let's talk a little bit also about Venus, the planet associated with values, worth, and love. And Venus makes a square to Saturn in Pisces. It makes an opposition to Jupiter in Gemini, and it trines Chiron in Aries. So again, a bunch of aspects to other planets. Let's unpack that. The square to Saturn in Pisces asks us to be more cautious when it comes to relationships and finances right now. And cautious doesn't mean to freeze or to get scared. It just means to be more deliberate, to be realistic, to slow down possibly. Now, Saturn in Pisces asks us to eliminate anything that disconnects us from our intuitive nature and the natural flow of life. So ask yourself, where am I called to make a commitment that serves a greater alignment with the natural flow of life? And how could I allow myself to find time to process internally what I'm experiencing externally. And again, that question is, it is about going inwards. It is about slowing down, because the external world can sometimes really stir up a lot of stuff and dust and busyness. So we need to make sure that we're processing that. Now, neither pushing nor rushing will get us what we want in the next 4 weeks. So ask yourself, could I notice when I feel impatient? What is the worst that could happen if I chose quick over quality? And really, really let yourself be with that question, because oftentimes when life gets really busy, we tend to move to, let me do this real quick, let me move fast. And does that always serve? So we have to pay attention to, when are we better off slowing down and focusing on quality, doing things right in the sense of like doing things well versus moving really fast. Now, 5 days after the new moon becomes exact on November 6th, Saturn will be the first planet of many to start its slowdown, becoming louder in our awareness and wanting us to really pay attention to it. And we will also talk about these upcoming slowdown phases, which are also called station phases. We will talk about Saturn in Pisces, Mercury in Sagittarius, Mars in Leo, and Neptune in Pisces. These are all planets that will be slowing down over the next several weeks. And we'll talk about all of that in our next forecasting forum on November 15th. Now, these exalted energies will be in effect starting on November 6th with Saturn and partially lasting all the way until December 18th, ending with Neptune station phase. So that's when Neptune ends its station. But between November 6th and December 18th, that period, we have several planets like going louder and stopping and louder and stopping, and they will overlap, all of them at some point. So if you want to know how these planetary shifts are going to impact you personally, feel free to join us. We will apply what's coming up to our own birth chart so you have a better idea of how to navigate this and how to handle it the best way possible. And the forum is on Friday, November 15th at 10 a.m. LA time, 1 p.m. New York time, and 4 p.m. London time. So for more information, of course, feel free to click on the link below this video, or if you want to get registered right away. And the webinar will also be available for purchase after November 15th on my webinar page if you're not able to make those dates. But please remember that the registration to the forum also includes access to the next member's full moon video and a recording of the live event. So you can register for it right away, even if you can't make those dates. And there is an early bird special that will be available until November 13th at midnight New York time. And universal members get a 10% discount no matter what. Whether there's an early bird special or not, you always get 10% off. Now, back to Venus in Sagittarius. Venus also makes an opposition to Jupiter in Gemini, and that asks us to balance our need for more information and mental busyness in our daily lives with a love for exploration and seeing the bigger picture, understanding things on a higher level. Now, we might overestimate our capabilities right now. We want to do and be more than is possible. Jupiter will oftentimes bring a component of more. We want it to be all that it can be, possibilities galore. But this opposition also is related to an earlier time this year when Venus and Jupiter were in a conjunction with each other, which was in late May. And we have to take a look and see what started there and what is left to resolve, or where do we want to go from there. So ask yourself, what began in my life back in late May? And what seeds were planted back then? What has developed since then around my finances and what I most value, what's most important to me? And then where am I being asked to shift my perspective regarding what is most important to me? What shift in perspective might support my financial growth? Because this is, of course, connected to Venus. So again, feel free to work with these coaching questions during the next 4 weeks after the new moon becomes exact. And then also remember, Venus makes a trine to Chiron in Aries, and this could create an opening to heal some wounds from the past. And since Chiron also makes a sextile to Jupiter, Chiron becomes the solution point for this Venus-Jupiter opposition. Now, we more easily allow for our personal humanity and limitations as we relate to other people from a more philosophical perspective. So ask yourself, how might this be showing up for me? And it's also a strong time for seeing potential in one another. So ask yourself, what potential do I see? And then we more readily accept human complexities in others and in ourselves as well. So ask yourself, how open can I be to being courageously myself, including my sensitivities, including my insecurities? And could I allow others to be just as human? So these are all of the aspects for this new moon chart. And to sum it all up, this new moon reminds us that before we can bring in the new, it's a good idea to offer up the old and let that go. So if we want to move forward, we have to release what's holding us back. And the key is to realize that letting go is not about loss, but it's about transformation. And ultimately, it's about feeling empowered, since every ending is also a new beginning. When we focus too much on, oh my God, this is ending, or I no longer have this, we're missing out on the new. We're missing out on what's actually being born, giving birth to in that moment. And so rather than focusing on what's ending, let's focus on what's beginning. Now, trust also plays a huge part here with Scorpio, with letting go, with all of these processes. Just like it does in our intimate relationships and in our authentic connections that we have with other people, or when it comes to, having financial partnerships, trust is really important. And whether it is in ourselves or in other people, it is something that develops over time. It's not something we don't just usually trust some stranger or some person that we've never met. But it's something that we can work on and we can build on. And for those of us who have experienced traumatic events in their lives, and this could also be in past lives. It could be in this life at an earlier age, or even recent traumatic events or circumstances. Trust will then take a little bit longer to build. It's a process that might be held back because of these traumatic events and experiences. So as best as you can, be patient and kind with yourself, especially if you are in that category where you've experienced stuff that has impacted how you can trust life, yourself, and others. Now, Scorpio, of course, is very much also connected to our survival instincts. And since Mercury is in Scorpio, the survival brain thinks that control brings power, certainty, and stability. But that, of course, is unfortunately all an illusion based in fear. So remember, fear is resistance to life or experiences that we have, whereas love is acceptance of life in all of its forms. The good, the bad, and the ugly, I like to say. Now ask yourself, as best as you can, could I acknowledge any self-resistance or resistance towards other people or towards life itself? Can I just simply acknowledge if that's there? And just as much as it is. And just for right now, could I simply let go of wanting to resist what is? And could I set all inattention free, just as best as I can, and just for right now, and just as an experiment in freedom? And again, flexibility and open-mindedness will help for the next 28 days. And embracing our humanity and practicing self-compassion, especially around our inner processes and limitations, provides an opportunity for healing. So if you do have an ascendant or any personal planets in 7 to 12 degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, or Aquarius, then this new moon will have a greater impact on you. But even if you don't have planets or points in those degrees or signs, just check in your birth chart, where does 9.5 degrees of Scorpio land in your birth chart? Look to see where that is. And that area of your life will be the area that will be most impacted over the next 4 weeks with this new moon cycle. Now, if you don't know how to look that up in your birth chart, feel free to take a look at my webinar, my 30-minute webinar, How to Read My Birth Chart. That is a free class that is available on my website at astrologercoach.com. Just scroll down to the place on the homepage where it says free class, and then click on that link. And then last but not least, the new moon is also the best time to set powerful intentions for this month's moon cycle. Intentions are best done after the new moon becomes exact and not during a moon void, of course, phase. So this month, the best and most potent time to set intentions will be between 8:47 a.m. on November 1st and 9:47 a.m. on November 3rd, New York time. However, there's one exception that will be a 28-minute period from 12:51 a.m. until 1:19 a.m. New York time on November 3rd. And that exception is because there will be a moon void, of course, during those 28 minutes. So that's when you don't want to be setting your intentions, okay? Now, if you live in a different time zone than US East Coast time, feel free to join my Facebook fan page or follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I will be posting reminders on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd to let you know when it's the most potent time to set your intentions and when it's best to not to. Now, for more information about setting intentions, check out my article on my website. There will be a link below this video for that if you are interested. Have a fantastic new moon. If you are a member, I will see you again in about 2 weeks for the next full moon video. And you can get access to that full moon video if you register for the monthly forecasting forum. So please remember that's a possibility as well. And I will either connect with you on November 15th for my next forecasting forum or on November 8th for my next So Live It Today radio podcast show, or I will see you in about 4 weeks for my next new moon video. All right, much love. As best as you can, take really good care of your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. I'm astrologer coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.